Hello there, my name is Mitra Mateen, and I am one of the teen hosts on our show, The Cube. Looking around and being a teen myself, I know it is sometimes hard to see how alone teens can all feel. Conflicting with that, we teens are all so different from one another, which makes problem solving that much more of a challenge. However, this show, I believe, gives us all an outlet to feel alive and be united as we discover we have so much more in common even through our differences. And I believe that that is what is most important right now. Please consider becoming a supporter or an advertiser today. Your help will make a real difference. Thank you.
You can support The Cube by purchasing commercial spots during our show, become an individual sponsor, or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teens. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you. Welcome back to The Cube, right here on ktsmaz.com. My name is Bob Cooper, and I'm the moderator for The Cube. And today I'm joined by Tristan Peterson-Steinert. He is a social worker and a good friend. Thanks for joining. Well, this is our first week at our new day and time, which is really exciting. So update your calendar and set an appointment to join us now every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Or as always, you can watch all of our episodes on demand anytime on the Kids and Teens channel. And whether you watch us on air or on demand, you can watch us on ktsmaz.com and only on ktsmaz.com. Also, with our new day and time, we have a new set layout as well. All of our teens are now on set with us, and we won't have to tag in and out like we have been doing for the past few weeks. And most importantly, we are still socially distanced. So we are excited to have our entire panel on set with us moving forward. Now, today we are talking fears. Our panel of 8 teenagers will open up and share with us the things they fear most in life. And it's important to remember that everyone has fears of some kind. And the best thing you can do to help manage your fear is to talk about it. Talk to your parents, to your friends that won't judge you, or even a professional. Keeping it bottled up inside is never the solution, which is why I invite you to join us for the next hour as we talk about our fears right here on The Cube.
Have to worry that what they say is the issue or what they're going to fix is not accurate. I know that when they tell me something's wrong and they're going to fix it, that's what's wrong. They're not trying to, pull one over on me. They have really good quality work. When they come to service our units, we usually don't have an issue throughout the year. And they're very clean about what they do, and their service people are nice and friendly and kind. I feel comfortable having them in my home. I trust AC doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. Today we are talking about fear, and it's a pretty broad subject. I just want to say one thing. In my opening, I talked about having all 8 of our members here. Unfortunately, one of our members was not feeling well today, Kylie, so she is not here. So there is a space today, but in general, we will be able to have everybody in the same room with us going forward. So now, back to fear. Anybody want to start? What is a fear that you may have? What is your biggest fear?
I would say that my biggest fear is failure, instilled with the value that it's really important to succeed, which is not a bad thing. But over the course of my life, I've slowly started to develop that into a fear of failure, and how I really just want to be able to succeed in the majority, or just pretty much in everything that I do in life. And so if you don't succeed, then you fail, and it's this whole big thing.
So what is it? What is the fear? What's the failure? What will happen if you didn't?
I think the best way to explain it is in regards to school. Like, failure would be getting a bad grade, for example. And in my mind, I have really high expectations for myself. So even a B in my mind is not that great. So the fear of, 1, my parents are going to get mad at me. 2, I won't be able to excel. 3, I won't be able to get those straight A's. And also, like, what happens? Will this negatively impact my future? What if the high school that I want to apply to looks at it like, oh, she has this one bad grade. Okay, no, we have a lot of overthinking and self-doubt kind of related into that fear.
How does that impact your life?
It causes a lot more stress and anxiety, for sure. But at the same time, it can be kind of a good motivator to know that the opposite of failure is to succeed. And so if I don't want to fail, I just need to work as hard as I possibly can so that I will be able to succeed.
Does anybody else share this fear?
Yeah, I'd say that resonates with me a lot. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily my biggest fear. I'd say for me that's more like, I don't know. I'm having trouble articulating it. It's kind of like not a fear of breaking the rules, but a fear of doing morally reprehensible things. Like I don't know. I mean, I believe I've talked about it before, but I am just a huge stickler for the rules. And even having a dean as a mom, even she's like, okay, Reese, don't worry. No one's actually looking here. It's okay. Like, I mean, the biggest thing I can just say is just fear of breaking the rules.
My sister was like that. I remember one time we went to Bearzona. Have you guys been to Bearzona?
Yeah.
We were at Bearzona, and my dad, we were in like the wolf enclosure. My dad was like, oh, let's roll the window down. And he rolls the window down, and my little sister immediately starts crying. She's like, no, Dad, don't do that. That was my story.
That's
My brother freaked out too that people had their windows rolled down because you're not supposed to do that.
We always like still make fun of her, like all of my grandparents did. Like, so do you remember when you cried in the wolf enclosure because we rolled the window down? I don't know why, but it's like, it's probably a good thing. Like, what if we got like eaten by the wolves because we rolled the window?
You weren't afraid of the wolves.
No, she was afraid that we rolled down the window and that like one of the police officer, like guard people, were gonna come up to us and be like,
Interesting. All right,
a great face.
let's bring it back. So,
Yes.
so that's not necessarily a bad thing. I
think it sometimes it can be a little like it all like more so less breaking the rules, more so just doing bad things. It especially comes, I feel like I can feel guilt really easily. I'm really good at just feeling guilty that I messed up and I hurt someone else's feelings. That's something that I'm working on, and that's something that I'm actively trying to do, but I definitely feel like guilt, like you're on a roller coaster going down the biggest hill there ever was, just pit in your stomach. I feel like that's just something I'm really good at, and something that I am working on. But fear of breaking the rules is more so fear of doing things that are morally wrong and how that affects other people.
I agree with all of the above. I wouldn't say those are my biggest fears, but they're definitely a part of me. My biggest fear is losing a loved one. Like, so bad to the point where, like, I feel like if I don't do something, then, like, something bad will happen.
Sorry, that was a bad segue, but I have a fear of aliens. I don't know, they just scare me. Like just the thought of, you know, being taken and then like not knowing what they do to you. It scares me so much. But I don't know, wolves are pretty cool. I like wolves. And I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just afraid of aliens. I don't know where it comes from.
Legit, I guess.
No, I have a fear that could more piggyback off of Kayla's. I would say disappointing people is definitely a big fear of mine, especially like my mom. I don't want to disappoint her at all. And I know like there's things that I do that can be pretty disappointing. But yeah, that's probably one of my biggest fears.
I'd say that my biggest fear is probably, I don't really know how to explain this, but like I get really paranoid and convince myself that everybody hates me, like all the time. Like I'll say something and I'll be like, oh my gosh, like I shouldn't have said that. Like I'm probably annoying like everybody here right now. Like everyone hates me now. Like I'll like say something and if someone like doesn't like hear me or something, like I'll be like, oh my gosh, they're like intentionally ignoring me. Like I get really paranoid. So I guess that kind of like resonates with like a fear of being alone probably. I like to be around people all the time. I get really sad when I'm like alone. I have like the biggest FOMO ever. So probably that.
So does anybody else, can you relate to what she's saying?
Yeah.
About fear of offending or upsetting someone?
Oh, I mean about being alone.
Or being alone?
Yeah, like I hate being alone. I hate being by myself. I always like to be around other people. So I felt that when you said that.
I feel like I used to be like that, but ever since like COVID, I've had to stay home.
Yeah.
So like I'm only with my family. So it's just kind of like I'm not really alone, but in a way I am alone, which kind of sucks because it's just not fun.
I completely agree with that. Like I used to be like I'd actually like go through depressive episodes when I was by myself. And like I would not be able to like be by myself. But ever since like quarantine, like I've gotten so much better about that and like I kind of like my alone time now. Like I'll like go home, like sleep in my own bed and I'll be like, that's kind of nice. I don't have to share with anyone. No one's kicking me.
So let's talk about the fear of being alone a little deeper. So alone meaning there aren't other people to communicate with. Do you have a fear of being home alone or walking alone or?
I hate walking alone. Like I just feel so threatened by everything. Like I have so many stories where like I've like thought it was like a situation where something bad was gonna happen to me, but it ended up being fine. But like I trust my gut. Like I always go with my gut, and I think that's good to go with your gut. But I'm a worrywart, so sometimes I can't tell if it's actually like a valid concern or like just me overthinking. But like for Christmas, I got this thing called a birdie, and like you like pull it. It's for self-defense, but because like pepper spray and stuff like that, like you have to be close to the person, and like the birdie, like you pull it and it makes like a loud noise.
I have one of those.
Yeah.
I have an app on my phone. I don't remember what it's called, but basically when you open it up, if like you ever feel like you're in danger, you hold down a button while you're walking, and then if you release your hand from the button, it automatically sends the police like your location. So I use that if I'm ever like scared and I'm walking alone. But I feel like I don't really like get scared of like, I'm not really scared of dying. I'm just like scared of like having everyone else dying and being like completely alone and like having no one to talk to.
See, that's more my fear is just not being around. And like, obviously I hate to say that I don't have to think about those things. And it makes me so upset, you know, to think that you guys have to deal with those thoughts all the time. But in terms of, yeah, just wanting to be with people, yeah.
Yeah. I also have a fear of the unknown, so.
Fear of the unknown?
Yeah.
Or the idea that not you're walking alone, but you're not walking alone.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So it seems like we have some serious fears of being alone. I don't disagree. I think we have more to talk about that, and I want to talk to Mitra because I know you live in New York City, so that's an interesting place to walk alone. So when we come back, we'll talk to Mitra about that. So we'll be right back here on KTSMAZ.com with the Cube.
My name is Leanne Leonard, and I'm the Executive Director of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank. The mission of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank as a faith-based nonprofit organization is to serve families and individuals in the Southwest Valley who are hungry, in need, and facing crisis. AFFCB has a heart for collaboration. Our annual events that we do each year are partnerships between local churches, businesses, and community members. We love to see how we can expand our reach by partnering with those businesses and churches in the area who have the same heart for missions that we do. The Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank would not exist without our amazing volunteers and donors. We're so grateful and appreciative to the many people over the last 23 years who have supported through their service of time or their donations, whether monetary or in kind. We have about 50 volunteers a week that come through, and they are the reason that we're able to keep our doors open. If you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of the Agua Fria Food and Clothing Bank, I would encourage you to think about donating your time through volunteering, whether that's at our weekly programs or one of our annual events, or through donation. Both monetary and in-kind donations are welcome and accepted from all over the state of Arizona.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
We were experiencing some issues with our air conditioner not cooling our house properly in the summer heat, and so we called AC Doctors, and they were able to come out quickly and efficiently fix everything and be able to get our house up and running again. What made me the happiest about AC Doctors was the quality and efficiency of their techs as they came into my home. I felt they were very trustworthy, and they did the job that they were needed to do and were able to get us back up and running. What exceeded my expectations about AC Doctors was the value of their work and their competitive price, along with having friendly and capable staff. If someone asked me if they should use AC Doctors, I would say absolutely. Their techs and their staff go above and beyond, and their prices are very competitive with anything else that we've seen. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourself. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. Talking about fear, and we were talking about the fear of being alone. And we wanted to bring it back to Mitra, who actually is living in New York City. So can you tell us about your experiences there? And
I know that New York City is it's a very big place, and there's a lot of different kinds of people. And it can be scary to walk alone, as a young girl. And sometimes I do feel like people look at me when I'm walking alone, and I don't know if it's creepy look at me or oh, I hope she's okay walking alone. But I know that I have a good amount of street smarts that I don't feel like I'm super unsafe because I feel like I'm equipped of what I know to do. And I think also a helpful thing to think about is, for me, I've always thought that if I'm walking alone in Arizona by myself, there's not a lot of people around. So I think it's actually kind of comforting being in a big place walking around because there's a lot of people and establishments. But it can be scary. I have an alarm and stuff, which I actually just did it the other day for the first time, and it doesn't work. So test yours. But yeah.
I'm glad you found out.
My roommate's mom gave it to me, and when she gave it to me, she was like, "Don't try it. Like, it's really loud." And I was like, "Okay." And so I didn't use it like all year, and I was scared that it was gonna like come undone. But then I got really excited about it when I came back home, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Nobody's home. I want to try it, and I pulled it out, and it didn't work.
Oh
No.
Rip.
Well, it's
one thing
good you found that out.
Well, or maybe it stopped working because you weren't using it, which is a good thing.
True.
You know?
you brought up street smarts. I don't want to
Yeah.
put you to the test. Could you share? You said you know what you would do. Can you share some of that?
Okay. Well, number one, I'm strong. I will hurt you.
Okay, Misha. Period.
Number two, if you feel like a gut feeling, it's probably right. And even if it's not, like, it's better to trust it. Where I live, there's a fire station. Pretty easy thing for me to be like, if I'm walking around there and I feel uncomfortable, just go talk to them and be like, hey, you know, I feel like somebody's following me. You can easily do that in establishments too. Text a roommate or a friend, hey, I'm on this street. I feel like somebody's watching me, you know, like make sure I come home, that kind of stuff. So just like be aware of your surroundings and trust people you know are trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, not like 3 days ago, I had a friend of mine call me, just be like, oh my, like I'm walking home right now and I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Can I just be on the phone with you until I get to my car? So like, I don't know, like that's just, I don't know, hurts my heart.
Yeah.
That people have to do that. I mean, I make a conscious effort. If I'm ever walking behind someone, like even if I take dance over at Xavier, which is the all-girls school right next to Brophy, and I will put distance in between. If there's ever any Xavier girls walking in front of me, like I will self in them just to make sure that they're not like, and because I know people are like, some Xavier students that have classes at Brophy are like giving tips on what to do, like hey, you better watch it, like oh my goodness, like as local as school. And of course, like if I'm on the street or something, I will also like I make myself as like, what's the opposite of threatening, as not threatening as possible. Like I actively just,
I think that's like, it goes both ways though, because I feel bad, and I'm sure you said you feel bad that like me as a girl has to feel like, but I also do feel bad that you was just like an innocent guy, just because you're a guy, you feel the need to like not make us feel that way. So I feel bad for that too. I think it kind of goes both.
Well, I personally had a kind of like an experience with like walking alone. So I have like a school that's like right next to my house, and there's like a little alley, and I have to do, for Xavier, we have to do these like PE walks. If you do online, you have to like track it. And so it was like late at night and I forgot to do it. And so I was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to go on a walk. And my dad was like, okay. And so I went on the walk or whatever, and I was on FaceTime with like one of my friends. And then she was like, oh, I have to go. And I was like, okay. And then I was walking, and I see this like kind of like creepy guy like walking with this huge like garden knife. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like the tree knifey thing.
Like the shears?
Yeah.
But like the big one?
Yeah. And he was just like walking with it. And I was like, didn't like think anything of it. And so I'm in the alley and I hear something behind me. And I turn around and he's like standing like 5 feet away from me. And he was like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Are you scared? And I was just kind of like, no. And he was like, okay, well, you know, you're pretty young to be walking out here all alone, especially as a girl your age. Like, I don't know if that's safe. Like, there's probably some weirdos out here. Like, haven't you been hearing about the break-ins on your street recently? And my heart just drops. I was like, no. And he was like, okay, well, do you need me to walk you home? And I was like, no. And I turned around and booked it back to my house, like ran as fast as I could.
Goodness.
And I went inside and my mom was like, Ellie, why did you go on a walk this late? Like, there's been break-ins going on our street. Like, you should have told me. And I was sitting there and I was like, Dad told me I could go, Mom, I promise.
oh man.
But it was so scary. I went back up to my room and cried. Like, she was like shaking. It was like,
Kind of, the idea of street smarts also reminded me of the gut feeling. So I was babysitting one time, 4 kids. It was nighttime. They had all gone to sleep. And this guy walks up to the door and he like knocks on it. And I thought he was just like a delivery man, just delivering a package. So I like waved. I was like, okay, bye. And then he starts jiggling on the door handle. And through the window, he's like, it's locked. And I was like, no, go away. And so he left and he drove away. And I immediately called the parents. But at the same time, I didn't have that gut feeling that something was wrong. So I still called the parents and I made sure, and I was like, okay, hi, here's what's going on. I called my parents. I made sure all the doors are locked. I made sure the kids were still asleep and they were safe. I planned on different escape plans, whatever. In the end, it was totally fine. It was just one of the guys from the dad's men's group. and they usually let themselves in. So that's why he was like, oh, it's locked, because they usually let themselves in. So everything was fine. But still, that gut feeling, I didn't have it. And luckily that was right, you know? So you just got to be prepared for those kinds of situations.
One word that you said really stood out to me, and that was the escape plans. And I feel that way at school, when I was in school, with like fire drill or like lockdown drills and stuff, because I don't get scared really for lockdown drills, but like I was thinking like people went to school. Most people went to school, especially like, let's say, so usually lockdowns are school shooters. And if it's a student, don't students know the lockdown drills? Like you turn off your lights and you hide like in a corner of the room where you can't see the door. School, like students know that. And if it's like an adult, you'd think like they went to school too and they would know that whole lockdown drill. So how is that helpful?
I think my teacher explained it, and it's kind of unfortunate that this is the way he tried to explain it. But we were like, why would we hide? Like, they're going to know that we're here at noon on a Tuesday, just over a week, you know? But he explained that most of the time, and it's hard to say this, but they're looking for direct targets. So if they can't see anyone and the door is locked, they just won't waste their time. And that's really unfortunate that that's what we have to be taught, and that that's our best plan, is that they won't waste their time on us. And that's really unfortunate that that's what we have to be taught.
So let's take it a little deeper. Do you feel, how does it make you feel that you have to have lockdown drills at school?
I am very afraid to go to school every day. Like when we were online, I like kept seeing like stuff on the internet, and it was like, now America's safer or whatever, because like there's not as many school shootings. And like the fact that like that's a joke is like so disgusting. Like the fact that that was is a thing and was a like very much a bigger thing before COVID is just really sad. And like I'm totally scared to go to school. Like I don't feel protected by the school doors. Like I don't think I just don't I don't feel safe going to the bathroom at school, anything.
Yeah, because I know like my school personally, like when I was in school, anyone could get in like any point. Like, yeah, they had gates and stuff and doors, but they were never locked. Like I remember ordering food from like Uber Eats that would go through the back. I was like, oh, just bring it up to the back because you can't bring it to the front or you'll get in trouble. So I was like, oh yeah, just go to the back. And so they brought it up through the back of the school, and I got my food, and I was like, this isn't safe, but okay. But we also have like portables in the back of the school where all the students have to walk. So if you're like late, it's kind of sketchy and like weird. It's a little scary because it's the main street, football fields, portables, school. So like anyone can just like beep, bop, like just everywhere.
What are portables?
Portables, so it's for your like outside classes. We have our like language arts. Those are in the portables, and some world history classes, but it's just like separate, like they don't have extra classrooms.
Portable buildings.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So would they be like car? Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to remember the word.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but they're more honestly just kind of like just buildings. Like
it's like a modular building.
Yeah.
So my school, like a month before we like shut down, we had a school shooting scare, and it was like a threat that they found in the bathroom. And I walked into third period, and like my teacher was like, okay, we're just gonna watch a video today. And like I knew that we were supposed to be doing like a lab, and everyone was like, okay. And then she locked the door, and we were like, what the heck? And then this girl was like, can I go to the bathroom? And she was like, no. And like she never does that. So, and then she was like, everyone take out your phones, and like you can call your parents if you need to. And we were like, what is happening? And then she had like her screen on like the board at school, and like we could see her screen, and like she was like emailing who was in the classroom, and then she turned off the lights, and it was just so confusing, and like no one knew what was happening. And then she was like, okay guys, there's a threat that something's gonna happen at lunchtime, and we're staying in this classroom. And we were like, okay. And then everyone started like crying, and she didn't tell us like any more details. And I remember like my sister, she was in 6th grade and I was in 8th grade, and my sister was texting me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And like the fact that like that we worry about that is so sad.
Anybody else? Do you feel that when you go to school?
I mean, I have a story as well, but I don't think we have enough time for it. But
We can probably come back after the break.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back in a few moments here on theCUBE on KTSMAZ.com.
Hi, I'm Kylie from theCUBE. Do you ever feel like you have to change your opinions due to who you're around? Do you feel like you're the only one who thinks a certain way, like you're on an island? Do you feel like every time you try to explain your opinion to someone, it causes unneeded debates? Well, many teens, trust me, including myself, feel this way every day. The Cube is a place where we can discuss every side and let teens know that they're not on an island. In fact, chances are someone on this show thinks exactly the same way as you do. To keep this show on the air and reaching teens, we need your help. Please consider becoming a sponsor or an advertiser today. I promise it will make a difference. Thank you.
You can support theCUBE by purchasing commercial spots during our show, become an individual sponsor, or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teens. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
So I'm a doctor kind of by profession myself, so I understand the importance of expertise and going to the right professional for the right service. AC Doctors exceeded my expectations really just in their service. The technician showed me on his phone how things should work, showed me how things were not working well on my particular unit, and showed the corrections that he would make. They were able to keep my air conditioner unit running smoothly, and I know that here in Arizona that's really important. And so I would want my neighbors and friends to get similar service and similar running air conditioners smoothly and coolly, and AC Doctors can provide that. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com, where today we're talking about fears. And just before the break, we were talking about school that we have in school, whether it's school shootings or education, that we're going to fail, we're not going to get our grades right. But Kayla had something she would like to.
Yeah, okay. So I had a school shooting scare one time. And well, okay, so I was in the locker room changing out because I just finished my athletic class, which is, I'm part of the dance department. And so we have to dress out. And so I was in the locker room dressing out with my friends, whatever. We were hanging out, having a good time. And in there, we have like the loudspeakers, but since it's kind of a smaller room and everybody's talking, you can't really hear what it has to say. So I remember we were just dressing out and I heard the intercom, something had come over, but I didn't really hear. You never really think much about it. Somebody needs to go to the office. The teacher needs to call this number, whatever. And then suddenly the coach, she comes out of her office and she's like, did they just say we're on lockdown? And everybody freaked out. Mind you, I was like still changing. I did not have my shirt on. So I like threw on the rest of my clothes and I like ran into the dance room because I'm friends with the dance teacher and that's where we all ran to. And we were hiding in there. And a really important thing to note is that she has these huge windows going down almost like a wall. And you can't really see in, but you can see out. So we could kind of see everything that was going on the outside. And suddenly we were just staying quiet. The doors were locked. She was emailing the office like, it's okay. We have all the kids in here. Here are the extra kids that I have in here. And then suddenly somebody started banging on the window and was like looking through the window. And it was so scary. Luckily, it was just a few students who had been let out from their class too early. The teacher that they were with thought it was over, but it wasn't. So then suddenly there was like this entire class of students just roaming around the campus because they didn't know what was going on. But I remember that was really scary and the fear that there was somebody actually there because they were looking through the window trying to see in. And it was just some kids trying to see if anybody was in there hiding and if they could go hide there. But yeah, it was really scary.
I can't imagine. I was sitting and thinking, when I was in school, we didn't really have fears that someone was going to come in with a gun and shoot anybody. We did have disaster breaks where, whether for tornadoes or stuff. And then when I was in high school, it was the Cold War. So we had to go down into a bunker in the basement of my school. So that was pretty scary. But I certainly never feared that someone was going to come into school and start shooting. So I can't imagine students going to school with that fear every single day. I mean, that certainly would be a big fear. Guns, gun safety.
Personally, guns scare me a lot. I know people who have been messing around with guns and have accidentally shot themselves and died of it. I've heard so many stories on the news of young kids getting hold of guns and accidentally shooting themselves, their friends, their parents, siblings. If anyone has a gun, I immediately feel really unsafe. I remember I was in Happy Burger. Have you guys ever been there?
No.
Yes. What?
So good, first of all. Second of all, some person had one of those strap-on belts that where you keep a gun in it. And I was so scared, I made my mom leave with me. I didn't want to be in the restaurant anymore at all. So personally, they really scare me. But I can see why people have guns in their house to protect themselves. But personally, I don't think I'd ever be a gun owner.
Anybody else?
I mean, gun safety, it's super important because you don't want that kind of lethal weapon getting into the wrong person's hands. So I think that it's extremely important that we take the proper precautions to ensure that the people who are getting the guns are going to use them responsibly and are going to use them for the right reasons.
How do you do that?
That's the difficult part, trying to find a way to, if it means a background check on the purchaser, whatever you can try to do to try and make sure that they're trying to purchase a gun because they want to either shoot it at the range or just have it to protect themselves, like you were saying, at their house.
And that's the problem, is that there's cartels and there is illegal gun trade, from what I understand. So it's kind of, guns are not going away, which is the hard truth. So it's to deal with.
Do you have security at your schools?
Yeah. I have 3 or 4 on-campus cops at all times.
They're actually police officers?
We have a few security guards, and then one officer. He wasn't there all the time, but they security and them. They didn't really do anything. They just kind of messed around with the kids. Which was not they shouldn't be doing that. But yeah.
Yeah, my security guards at my school, they're not armed. They don't really have any self-defense. And also back to the gun safety. I think Arizona has the most not strict, that was a really bad way to say that, but lenient guns rules. I think it's you can walk into, of course, not schools and some buildings, but I think you can walk into an area with a concealed or unconcealed gun in Arizona, if that's right. That to me makes, you were saying, it's threatening and scary, especially because we're trained to like hide from them at school, which is supposed to be like a safe place for kids if like you don't have a safe home. And
Well, I felt bad when we were at the restaurant because like the way that we were like set up, and I still remember this, and this was in like I was like 5th grade, which wasn't actually that long ago, but whatever. We were like sitting in like a booth, and I remember like the lady who had the gun was over like in a booth, and I like wouldn't stop looking at her. Like I was sitting there like eating my like food, like but I would not take my eyes off her because I was so like anytime she would like reach down, I would like flinch, and I don't know why, but guns. No, I don't like them.
I can't really say that I share a lot of the fears. They were like I personally I probably wouldn't have even taken a second look in that particular situation. And I wouldn't necessarily say that I am uncomfortable with like open or concealed carry people. I feel like in that particular instance, like having a concealed carry license or having a license like that kind of thing, I feel like I'm comfortable with that. I think I'm comfortable with that is what I'm trying to say.
Because they took they took since
right
so that they can properly carry. Because if you are not concealed carrying and you're like open carrying, like an officer, someone can come up to you and ask you, like, are you actually allowed to be doing this? I'm pretty sure. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the people who, again, take the proper steps and abide by the law to purchase a firearm, they should be able to, but at the same time, it's just about making sure it's making sure to the best of our ability that we don't let those weapons get into the wrong person's hands.
See, I just have a problem trusting, like what you guys said, like even if, yes, they have a license, like how do you know? Like we're not going to know. It's not like they carry it around like on their back. Like,
Why do you think somebody feels it necessary to have a concealed weapon or carry a non-concealed weapon?
Well, I think at any time, like somebody who could have the wrong intentions with the gun could, like, for all I knew, like somebody with the wrong intentions with a gun could have walked into that Habit Burger and tried to shoot it up, and then like that lady would have obviously shot them, and then she would have saved us. But I think that some people find it necessary to have that sort of protection on them at all times, just in case. But I think the reason why I get nervous around guns because I personally had like a run-in with a gun. I had a family friend whose kid would get very aggressive when they were upset, and he was about 3 or 4 and stole a gun from their parents' closet. And it was just really scary not knowing like what was going to happen. I just remember that. And I was really young. I was probably like 5 or 6, but I still like remember just like that fear of like seeing the gun and being like, what are you doing with that?
Well, it's a very scary thing. I mean, guns are intimidating. And so, all right. So we've talked about school and that. Are there any other personal fears or anything else that you're afraid of that we can dig a little deeper into?
Well, so my freshman year, I had a stalker. My little friend group, we actually, it was almost like a generation thing, but like a yearly thing. So it was my freshman year there, and I joined this group because I was mutuals. And they had this kid, he was stalking them, and he's a super senior. So he was, I think, 19, almost 20 as a senior. And yeah. So he was known, like he's had complaints to the school, but the school didn't do anything about it. Only one year they had a security guard walk into his classes, and that was it. But I just remember him like following us around, always trying to come up and talk to us. He would like take pictures of us from like afar. He would find us our social medias and like DM us or just like message us, like anything. And I remember this one instant, he was like, I'm making a show. I'm producing a show. Can you guys voice act? And we were like, oh, we're not really interested in that, but thank you. And he's like, it's Veggie Tales. And I was like, it's like a funny story, but it's like, no, thank you. So we way.
Did your school communicate with you at all as to how to handle a situation like that?
No, because he's had complaints before. And I think 3 years leading up were the complaints. So I would say that there was like 5 within those 3 years. But the school didn't do anything. They just let him be, kept doing what he was doing. And I remember one time I saw him at Walmart with my mom, and he was checking us out, and I didn't like notice. And I looked up and I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I had told my mom, and I was like, Mom, this is the guy, don't say anything. And she thought that it was a joke. And so she was like, oh, Shaylee's in a show right now. You should come see it. It's here.
Oh,
here.
my God.
And I remember like freezing in place. And as soon as we walked away, I just broke out in tears, and I was like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And she's like, what? It's not serious. And I was like, Mom, he's terrifying. Like, this kid follows us around. And she's like, oh, I didn't know it was serious. I'm so sorry. And it was just terrifying. I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But then he graduated and things like calmed down. He still, like last month, he added me, he friended me on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, so I didn't see it till like a few weeks later, but I was just like, oh, decline.
Did he end up going to your show?
Yeah, did he go?
No, she told him the wrong dates.
Okay.
Speaking of so now he's finding you on social media. Do you have any fears out there on who you're communicating with in social media? Have you ever had any situation that...
It scares me seeing how willing like children are to feel like they have someone to talk to. So I don't really talk to people I don't know on social media, but it is quite scary to see how other people are super willing. Like if I even get a call from a wrong number or a text, I don't text back because there's a lot of scams or creepy people out there, but I think it's quite hard to see how desperate people are for communication and how just because you trust people doesn't mean that people are always going to be good back. So
it's good. You have to be very careful with the folks out there and really scrutinize who you're communicating with and look and make sure they really are a person that's safe to have a conversation with. We're talking about fears here on The Cube. We'll be right back after these messages on KTSMAZ.com.
Hi, this is Doug with AC Doctors, and this is another testimonial of one of our satisfied customers.
My expectations were an open mind, an open book. I wasn't sure because I still was thinking about the other company that I had been with before. So when they came in and their efficiency, their professionalism was so awesome, my expectations were definitely met. From the first call that I make into their call center to the very end of my service, it has definitely been a great journey because every part has been very simple and easy. The main reason that I would recommend AC Doctors is professionalism, dependability, and just the friendliness of their staff. I trust AC Doctors, and so should you.
We want you to find out for yourselves. Give us a call or find us on our website at theacdoctors.com.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Welcome back to theCUBE here on KTSMAZ.com. Today we're talking about fears, and before the break we were talking a little bit about social media and those who may prey upon you on social media. And Ellie, you had something you wanted to mention.
So I went through an experience last year actually where I got hacked. I don't remember if anyone remembers when like the nasty list was like a thing.
Yeah.
So I got DM'd by this like random person I'd never talked to before in my life. But like and she was like, Ellie, like I just trying to let you know, like you're on this like list. It's called the nasty list. Like you should probably check it out. Like here's the link. And then I clicked it and it immediately sent the exact same message to everyone on my Instagram. And I was like, don't click the link. Like I just got hacked. Like don't click the link. Like I posted on my story. But I remember that was really scary. I've also had my Snapchat hacked a few times. It ended up always being friends. So that was good. But that was definitely scary when and it was like right when like my mom's credit cards were getting hacked. And so we had to get the police involved and it was really scary. It ended up being like my friends, they were messing with me. And so that was scary. But
yeah, you definitely really have to be careful in social media. Young people, adults, everybody. I mean, those things come out all the time. If it doesn't seem right, chances are it isn't. You know what I mean? So I would delete those straight away. You just don't want to get involved with something like that. So in talking about fears, does fear get in your way ever? Do you ever find that something you fear gets in your way?
100% for me. I get, like I mentioned earlier, I get really paranoid that people think that like I'm being annoying or like if I'm talking too much, like I get really self-conscious about that. So like if I'll be in like a group setting, like I'll get really like nervous. Like I'll be like, oh, like I feel like I talked to that person too much. Like I feel like I should probably go talk to somebody else, like just in case like they think I'm being annoying, like clinging to them. And like I'll end up getting like really like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just get like really like self-conscious sometimes. And I think that that can get in the way of like starting new friendships sometimes.
Anybody else where fear gets in your way?
I think it affects me every day. Like I'm constantly worrying about like the tiniest things just to like somehow control a loved one not dying, but it's out of my control and there's literally nothing I can do.
I kind of want to bring it back to what you were talking about like fear for the future or like success. And I think I have that in a way, but it's very different at the same time. It's gotten better like as I've gotten older, but I think I kind of fear more of like, will I ever be fulfilled? Mm-hmm. So not necessarily by like the pressure of other people, but I think normally in life, a lot of us look forward to and rely on the future. And in doing so, I've realized that once I get to what that future is now, the present, I usually feel like the hype was more than I expected and I'm a little disappointed. So I think that sometimes weighs on me. It's gotten better, but I definitely think I have a fear of like not feeling fulfilled. But I don't know. I think it does affect me because it can affect how much I value the present time and can affect how happy I feel. So
how do you manage that?
I don't really know. It's gotten better as I've gotten older because I think I've realized that I do hold very like expectational things for my life that are sometimes unrealistic. And I think just sitting back and realizing that the beauty of life isn't going to be some amazing feeling or success or event has made me appreciate and be more happy for simpler things, which I think is what life is all about. So I think as I've gotten older and once you kind of find how you interpret it, the pressure comes off. So.
Anybody else fear the future? That was interesting. Anybody?
I think I do, and that really spoke to me because I think about that too in terms of, you have to do what you can do every day. I mean, the future is not written yet, and as much as we have an idea, but I think it's also important to have goals, and it's okay to think about the future. But you have to think about like, what can I give the world today that I didn't have yesterday? Especially with creative things, like I try to tell myself that every day in terms of, what can I create today that didn't exist yesterday? But it is so hard to not focus on the future. But there's a fine line between goal setting and like
does produce self-doubts, but it also encourages me to be the best version of myself that I can be every day and work a little bit harder each day so that the future will be brighter and I will be able to have an even better future and use that hope and that fear almost in a little way to kind of impact what I do in the present moment. And in that way, I think that the fear can be helpful. It obviously has its negative sides to it, but I also feel like it can be.
A phrase that comes to mind for me is that what you fear will be. Have you ever heard that?
No.
So, because fear, and I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't have fear, but some things when we talk about that we have no control over, we can actually make them manifest. We can make them happen because we are so afraid of it. We actually ultimately make that happen. So it's sort of interesting to be careful, but it's how do you manage that? Because I could have that challenge, and I just realized I got to stay in the moment. I've got to stay right here. Yes, I have future plans and things, goals and things like that, but yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't here yet, and I can't sacrifice the now. Is there any other coping tools that you can think of, Tristan, that can help, keeping fear at bay, managing through fear?
Well, I think a lot of people, like they, fear can be really overwhelming. So I think finding things that help manage that is really important. Like whether that's just the self-talk that you have in yourself, rationalizing things. Lots of people have different mechanisms that allow that to do that. So they remind themselves that, I don't know, that the likelihood of that happening is not that likely or whatever. They find other ways to manage it. So I think it really depends for everybody. But then, of course, there's always therapy too, which can be really helpful in, managing fear, particularly if it's so overwhelming that, it really negatively impacts somebody's life.
One of my favorite coping skills, I have this paper that my therapist gave me, and it basically is a rundown of breaking down the thought process of what you're stressed about, what you're afraid of. So sometimes I use it for tests. I'll be really nervous because I'm afraid to fail. And it'll be what are you afraid of? What are you stressed about? And I'll fill that in. And then it'll be what have you done to take care of that? And I'll be study. It's stuff like that, and it just helps you rationalize it, and I think that's really important.
I think for me, something that really helped me is finding a person that I don't know how to explain it. For me, in friendships, it's really important that I have reassurance that they're not getting tired of me or gonna drop me, if that makes sense. I feel whenever I'm in a friendship, I'm in constant fear that they're gonna decide that they don't like me anymore. And so I think something for me that was really helpful was just kind of communicating that, I guess. It's just instead of being all paranoid, being are you mad at me? You know what I mean? I don't really know how to explain it that well, but that's something that I've definitely worked on. And for me, I don't get nervous in groups anymore if my best friend's with me. I just won't. So yeah.
I really like that you just like you said, communicating it. That's something that's been really helpful with some of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Just having them being able to tell me, you know what, I need some reassurance. Even and I'll ask them to tell me again, and I'll say, please remind me. If we're in a conversation, you're you know what, Reese, I just need some reassurance right now. Or, you know what, I just need you to say, yeah, I think that was just really, really awesome. And another thing that kind of resonated with me when you were talking about just being unhappy with the present, it reminded me of this book that I read as it's called Have a Little Faith. We read it for one of our summer reading assignments. And there's this whole climactic thing at the very end. The writer of the book asks this rabbi, and he's like, what is the secret to happiness? And the rabbi just says, the secret to happiness is to be satisfied, which was pretty much the secret to be happy is just to be happy. And I'm okay. It was kind of if you're struggling mentally, feel better. That's kind of what it felt like. If you want to be happy, just be happy. But at first it was kind of like, but as I've been doing all these different things, it's been true for me, just in the sense that you choose how you feel. Like putting yourself in the driver's seat is a skill that I've been working on for a really long time, and I feel like I've been able to grow so much just by being satisfied. Like it's so hard just to be like, it's kind of like the argument, like, oh my God, I'm sad, stop being sad. That's kind of what it feels like, and I don't know. That's right. With that.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's important that, if you have fears, that you talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important thing. And talk about it with those you feel comfortable that you can share something with that, like that with your parents, therapist, the clergy, a good friend, something like that. Because it's important to take care of yourself, because fears can be real and they can be debilitating if you don't take care of them, if you don't address it. We'll be right back here on theCUBE on KTSMAZ.com.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down.
Doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G? You all right, girl? You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. CZ awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Hello, my name is Raymond Cusick. I don't often get to hear young people's voices showcased in a professional way. I mean, I don't hear young people doing radio or talking on the news often. It's rare that people of my age group can have the opportunity to express their thoughts on a media platform that isn't social media. That's why theCUBE is so important. It gives young people the opportunity to bring up a discussion, to talk about things from our perspective. I hope that you would consider supporting this platform that gives young adults the chance to discuss. Become a sponsor or an advertiser today. Thank you.
You can support theCUBE by purchasing commercial spots during our show, become an individual sponsor, or even be a season title sponsor. You can make a big difference in the lives of our teams. Email advertising at ktsmaz.com or call 602-699-6271. Thank you. Thank you for joining us here on theCUBE. We'll be back every Tuesday at 6 p.m. But don't worry, if you miss us on Tuesdays, you can see every episode on demand anytime, exclusively at ktsmaz.com. Remember, try to understand the other person's side of the cube. You may be surprised at what you'll learn. We'll see you next week on theCUBE.
Yeah.